Country music lost one of its most beloved stars on Friday, August 1st, when Jeannie Seely passed away at Summit Medical Center in Hermitage, Tennessee. The 85-year-old singer, affectionately known throughout the industry and by fans as Miss Country Soul, died due to complications related to an intestinal infection, marking the end of a long and difficult health journey that had quietly persisted for months. Her passing has left a deep void in the hearts of millions, not only because of her talent but because of the warmth, wit, and perseverance that defined her 6-decade-long career in the music industry. Jeannie Seely wasn't just a performer, she was a force of nature who left an indelible mark on the genre of country music, breaking barriers, redefining style, and forging a legacy that would span generations. Her struggle with health complications began in earnest last fall during what was supposed to be a joyous occasion. Seely had returned to her hometown in Pennsylvania, where she was being honored for her lifetime of career achievements. What was meant to be a heartfelt tribute from the town that shaped her turned unexpectedly tragic when she was rushed to the hospital after collapsing due to acute diverticulitis and severe dehydration. As reported by Country Now, the incident was far more serious than anyone initially imagined. That event set off a long chain of medical battles that tested not only her physical strength but her legendary grit. Over the months that followed, Seely endured a series of intense and painful procedures. According to a statement cited by People magazine, she underwent multiple back surgeries to repair her vertebrae, which had become weakened due to aging, and years of physical wear from her energetic performances and rigorous touring schedule. These surgeries were followed by 2 emergency abdominal operations meant to address the complications from her earlier diverticulitis diagnosis. Though she had always faced challenges with elegance and poise, this time was different. Seely spent 11 agonizing days in the intensive care unit, barely conscious at times, and suffered a serious bout of pneumonia that left her even more fragile. And yet, through all of this, Seely continued to communicate with fans and well-wishers. Known for her humility and honesty, she never shied away from updating people about her condition, not to garner sympathy, but to share the truth of what it meant to age with grace, even when the body starts to fail. She remained sharp, witty, and warm even when her physical health was in sharp decline, proving once again that the heart of a performer doesn't dim with illness, it burns even brighter. Jeannie Seely was born in the small town of Titusville, Pennsylvania, in 1940, the youngest of 4 siblings in a tight-knit working-class family. From a young age, she exhibited the type of drive and curiosity that hinted at a future far beyond the borders of her rural hometown. Raised on the sounds of Saturday night Grand Ole Opry broadcasts, music became a bonding ritual for her family. As other children fell asleep to bedtime stories, Seely drifted off to the lilting harmonies of Roy Acuff, the comedic charm of Minnie Pearl, the grounded twang of Ernest Tubb, and the pioneering voice of Kitty Wells. She would later recall in an emotional interview with People magazine in 2022, "Actually, I knew at 8 years old what I wanted to be. And I know I wanted to be at the Opry." That early moment of clarity wasn't just a childish dream, it was a calling, one that would eventually define her identity and her purpose. She wasn't content with being a fan from afar. She wanted in, she wanted to know the stars. She wanted to be a part of that magic, to live in the music and make people feel the way she did as a child huddled beside the radio with her family. As she got older, Seely began to channel her ambition into action. She moved to Los Angeles in her early 20s, where she worked as a secretary at a music publishing company. But music always found her. Even during her 9-to-5 job, she would write songs and send demos to Nashville, hoping for a breakthrough. Her talent didn't stay hidden for long. In the mid-1960s, she signed a recording contract with Monument Records in Nashville, Tennessee, the city that had long felt like her spiritual home. It was 1966 when everything changed. Seely recorded and released "Don't Touch Me," a hauntingly beautiful ballad that catapulted her into the national spotlight. The song soared to No. 2 on the U.S. Hot Country Songs chart and proved to be a transformative moment in her career. It wasn't just a hit, it was a declaration. Her soulful delivery, emotional vulnerability, and confident presence set her apart from many female country singers of her time. The song earned her Grammy nominations for both Best Country and Western Recording and Best Female Country Vocal Performance, cementing her status as a rising star. But perhaps more meaningful to Seely than the accolades was the validation it brought. That song, her voice, gave her something that little Jeannie from Titusville had always dreamed about: an invitation to perform at the Grand Ole Opry. She once described the experience with tears. In her eyes, I was standing shoulder to shoulder in the wings with all my heroes. I had never even seen them in person, anywhere, even across the footlights. That moment wasn't just about making it to the Opry stage. It was about finally becoming part of the very family she had worshipped from afar. Her success didn't stop with just one hit. Celie continued to release a string of acclaimed albums and singles, often pushing the boundaries of what was considered appropriate for women in country music. She spoke her mind. She wore miniskirts. She wrote about desire, regret, resilience, and freedom, themes that weren't always easy for women to sing about in the male-dominated industry of the 1960s and 70s, but Celie wasn't afraid to ruffle feathers. She believed that authenticity mattered more than convention, and it was that very bravery that earned her a fiercely loyal fanbase and deep respect among her peers. Over the decades, Celie remained a fixture at the Grand Ole Opry, where she eventually became the longest-serving female member in its history. Her warmth, humor, and grace made her not just a performer, but a guiding light for younger artists. She mentored newcomers, advocated for more inclusion, and never stopped pushing the genre forward. Offstage, she was just as magnetic, known for her sharp wit, her love of hats, and her endearing ability to tell stories that could make you laugh and cry in the same breath. Even as she aged, Celie never retreated from the public eye. In fact, she embraced aging as another act in the grand performance of life. "You don't retire from your passion," she once said during a radio interview. "You just find new ways to keep showing up." And show up she did well into her 80s. She continued performing at the Opry, recording music, and even hosting segments on satellite radio, where her voice remained as vital and full of life as ever. Her resilience was not just physical but emotional too. Celie had endured more than her share of personal loss, including the tragic death of her first husband, songwriter Hank Cochran, and the loss of close friends like Dottie West, but she never let grief turn to bitterness. Instead, she used it to write deeper songs, to love harder, and to live fuller. In the days following her death, tributes poured in from across the music world. Artists young and old spoke of how Celie had touched their lives, not just with her music, but with her mentorship, kindness, and sheer authenticity. Country stars like Reba McEntire, Vince Gill, Trisha Yearwood, and Carrie Underwood all shared messages of grief and gratitude. Social media filled with clips of her performances, interviews, and candid moments, each a reminder of how vibrant and irreplaceable she truly was. Jeannie Celie's passing is more than the loss of a voice. It is the loss of a storyteller, a trailblazer, a matriarch, and a fighter. She represented a generation of country music that believed in heart and honesty over fame and spectacle. She stood for something real. And in an industry that often changes faces as fast as it changes trends, she remained a steady, unshakable presence, a soul who always remembered where she came from and who she sang for.